Greetings. Welcome to the Business Sense with Brad podcast. We are in 2024. I've got some amazing guests and topics lined up. I'll be publishing about an episode a month. Make sure that you like and subscribe on your favorite or all apps that you listen to podcasts on. That really helps me move this podcast forward. And YouTube has really been the best catalyst for moving it forward as of late. So if you follow the Business Sense with Brad YouTube channel, that would really help a lot as well. And I truly appreciate all of the follows. On this episode, Ryan Bartlett, CEO of True Classic, talks to my business strategy class about building community. He has helped bring his company to almost $500 million in revenue over 4 years. It's quite amazing. And then just so you know, at the end, he gives my class True Classic tees. And they're all excited, but you can't really hear it because my mic can't handle all of the noise. So if you're listening only and he's like, hey, you're all getting True Classic and it's silent. If you're watching the video, you could see him applauding, and I'm wearing some True Classic swag right now. So without further ado, let's start the episode.
All right, hey everyone. So we got about 35 roughly in here. So this is a business strategy class. So it is a capstone class. It's the last one they take before they graduate. So they have to get through me, which is really scary for all of us. So what we're gonna do, if we could we'll just go ahead and jump in. I'll just have them ask the questions. All right, well, hey, tell us about yourself other than we grew up in Cadillac, Michigan together, and then we see each other like once a year on here. Just give us your backstory, and let's go from there.
Funny little fact here about Brad is that him and I competed against each other in the talent shows way back in the day at our high school. We were both drummers. I ended up navigating into piano and guitar, but back in high school, we were in competing rock bands. So your teacher is an absolute rock star. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but
they did not.
They do now.
All right. Yeah. I forgot about the talent. I mean, I didn't forget about them, but I didn't know you were going to go there. That's great. Remember Lapdog? Lazier had a full mohawk. We made the paper.
And he was like the worst singer too. Like he was definitely not meant to be a singer, but he had that rock star look to him, which is what you guys were going for. And it totally worked.
He was perfect for Lapdog.
He really was. As far as who I am, I mean, listen, I started out all in music. It was my whole career was in music, or so I thought it was going to be, and I couldn't make any money. So I eventually navigated out of that, got into poker, made some decent money, but like most people I know that play poker for a living, I inevitably went broke, and I didn't want to borrow any money. So I got into the clubbing industry after I moved to Vegas. And did that for a couple of years, got burnt out, went back to school, got more in debt and more degrees in music, and then came out to LA, didn't use any of it, and ended up getting into digital marketing. And it was something, computer science was always something that I loved, and graphic design and kind of using the art in a different digital way kind of spoke to my heart as someone who abandoned music completely. And that took me on a journey. And I built an agency over like a decade, and I made a very nice life for myself. And then inevitably, I was really unimpressed with the way people were building e-commerce. And I wanted to challenge myself to try to do it better. And I found a bit of a white space in the apparel market. And I was really into apparel. I was trying to solve a real problem for people. And it turns out that a lot of people were waiting for me to solve this problem. And the business absolutely exploded. We did 100 million in 2 years. We're up to 450 million now over 4.5 years. And so we're well on our way to $1 billion. And hopefully we can get there sooner than later.
All right. Well, nice backstory there again, especially mentioning Lapdog. That's what they gained.
That's the important part.
Yes. All right. So let's go ahead. We'll just jump into the questions here. So shoot a hand up if you want to ask, and then we're just these kind of questions will probably be all over the place, from marketing to strategy to tell us more about yourself. So who's got a question? Yes.
I was just wondering, what was the hardest part of the business to scale as things grew?
Hardest part of the business to scale as you're growing?
Definitely the hardest part is the inventory management, because it's complex. You know, you have You have SKUs that have multiple colors and you have multiple sizes. And even like we basically did not know how to buy ahead of the demand. So what we kept happening is we would like ramp up to start doing really well, and then we'd sell out of stuff. And then all of a sudden your revenue just plummets because, you know, you have nothing to sell. So it was a constant battle. Even to this day, I think it's still probably the hardest part of the business is kind of what we call demand planning. And even though we've hired some amazing people, it is still such a beast of a job to manage. I don't even know. We have hundreds of SKUs now, and then size is all on top of that. So what we try to make sure is that for the core product of the business, which is essentially the staple pack, like if you go to the website, you go to the sale page, you look at the staple pack, that staple pack makes up the majority of the business. I would say 70% of what we sell is just in those colors. So we make sure that we're overstocked in those. God forbid we run out of like a large in a black or something, it would crush revenue for us, and we would feel it right away. So we're still not doing a perfect job of managing everything, and we probably never will. But we try to at least safeguard the business by keeping us overstocked in core. But to answer your question, inventory management is an absolute beast. And this is nothing new. Like if you look at all the companies that are really suffering right now, they overbought, right? Like it's always the biggest thing because you have to predict. And with prediction comes a tremendous amount of risk. So if you're going to predict that you're going to do X amount of sales and it doesn't come to fruition, you got a real problem on your hands. So because those receipts are coming in and the revenue's not there to pay for the receipts. So where's that money going to come from, right? You got to either raise money or you got to dig into your pockets and figure it out. And that's when it gets dicey. So that's definitely the biggest problem.
All right, I've got a question just to, before we move on, tying into forecasting. How do you go about forecasting then? And are you using AI at all, or is AI overrated in the forecasting process? What are your thoughts?
It's definitely underrated for forecasting because the predictive analysis that we've been doing with Peel, P-E-E-L, has been pretty spot on. It's definitely done a better job than we ever could have as humans. So once we started implementing AI into our planning, things got a little bit more clear. We still don't even have, I would say, the right vendor. I think that's part of the problem too, is that we're constantly shuffling through vendors that do that have inventory management software. So like, I don't think we've really found our golden goose just yet that will help us kind of predict the future perfectly. But yes, to answer your question, AI has definitely played a part in numerous parts in this business. And I see it just continuing to be a part of just driving efficiency internally.
Awesome. And you, poker wise, before we go on, you were just in a poker tournament, correct? Martin wants to ask a question so bad, like I've checked it twice. You're up next. How was you were just in a poker tournament, weren't you? A big one?
Yeah, it was amazing. I got a free seat because I'm a sponsor to Poker Go, and I'm friends with the owner. And you know, when you're a big sponsor and you spend a lot of money, they treat you nice. And they gave me a seat to this. It was like a Poker Go championship. So it was all the top players in the world, and then me, the fish, basically. They went in just to get eaten by all these guys. But it was amazing. I got to play with Phil Hellmuth, Daniel Negreanu, and he's a big True Classic guy. A lot of these guys already have True Classic in their closet. So it was cool for them to know who I was. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, I've been following you guys your whole career. Like, it's just so funny that you know me somehow, some way through clothing. So it was pretty surreal experience. But yeah, I busted about halfway through. And so I did as good as I could, but these guys are such a world of difference in terms of talent than I ever was. So, you know, I got to give it to them. They're amazing.
You were still top half though, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I finished like 20th out of 50. So a little bit over half.
All right. All right, Taurus, you're up now. I know you've been dying to ask a question.
What are your top 3 priorities in your business?
So top 3 priorities in your business.
Well, it differs based on department. I would say that my priorities tend to focus on impact. So when I look at like, what am I focusing on, my energy on specifically, number one, most of my day is revolved around just pure problem solving 24/7, right? Whether I'm sitting in bed at night on my phone, I'm problem solving. Whether I'm waking up looking at something, I'm problem solving. So it depends on which department is on fire that day. Like yesterday, it was finance. And today it is Facebook ads. So like every day is kind of different, but it's just one problem after another. And I wish I could just do like this is the fun stuff to me, and I never get to do too much of it. But when you're in my position, you just got to be the guy that falls for everything and essentially has to do the hardest stuff all the time while everyone else is just kind of doing their job. I just have to do the stuff no one wants to do, essentially. So the top three things that I'm prioritizing right now are making sure that the site is completely optimized for storytelling, and that when people hit the pages, they know exactly who we are, what we stand for, and what we represent, and what the product is supposed to be for them. So I spend a lot of time thinking about that. Like we're doing a lot of UI/UX work right now on the website. It's getting a pretty big overhaul. I would say also something that's impacting us right now is just Meta is just not working the way it normally does. Like it did the last couple months, it was crushing. Now this month, it's not looking so hot. So of course, I'm spending a lot of time digging in because it drives so much of the business, right? So again, it goes back to like what is kind of the most impactful today, not like what is going to be great in 6 months. I'm always moving around and shifting priorities day to day based on the business needs. And you kind of just have to be super dynamic like that to stay ahead of it, because it's just evolving so quickly that if you miss something and it goes a week or two, it can be very costly looking back. So like this is a real problem that it's kind of all hands on deck for the paid media team right now to try to figure out how to turn things around on Facebook specifically, but we'll get there. And what it mostly comes back to is just customer buyer behavior being down from, most of them just spent all their money the last 2 months, right? And here comes January and you suck all the gifting revenue out of True Classic and the business looks very different. So, we have gifting coming back here for Valentine's, so that should help. And then, other holidays that are coming up, Father's Day, things like that will help fill up those buckets again. But you asked for three. So right now I would say paid media, UI/UX, and then I would say the other big thing I'm focusing on is just acquisition in general. I'm trying to come up with a concept where I can get people t-shirts for literally nothing and basically try to win them over by having them put it on and try it. Right. Versus like, let me spend until I acquire a customer at $50 CAC. What I'm trying to do is basically hack the system and say, how about I just give it away free? And then we just see what happens. Like if I really truly believe in the product that much and I think it's so great, then I should be able to bet on myself and say, okay, if I give out 100 shirts, I only need 16 of those 100 to break even. Like basically those 16 out of the 100 need to make one purchase for me to break even. But I believe that number is much higher. I think I could probably get 40 out of the 100, which makes it a very profitable customer acquisition play, right? So I'm trying to test this. It's not something like you see a lot, but I'm trying to test this. And I think if it wins, it could be an absolute game changer and a differentiator as to how we acquire customers.
What's UI/UX for the people that don't know in the room?
So it's basically everything, user interface, user experience. So it's basically everything that happens when you get to the website. It's how you kind of interpret that journey. Like basically, are we giving them enough for them to understand who we are when they hit the website? And are we making it easy for them to check out? Right? Or is it too complicated? Like, how do we break that apart and make it less complicated for the people so that when they get there, it's kind of like, how when you buy like your favorite stores, you tend to download the app versus the website because the app is just so much more seamless and easy to use. That's what I'm trying to incorporate into the website. Websites are very clunky. The code is difficult to navigate. So I'm just trying to make it as smooth as possible.
You mentioned the power of story, and then we'll get to the next question. I just wanted to tie this in because I know you've done the fun ads. I don't know if you're still doing those or not on social media, if you're still doing that, but then you've got the story of the website. Do you try to integrate those, or does each one have its own story? Like you go, different targets, if you will, because like the website is that one type of customer versus the ads, or you're trying to all tell a meta story, no pun intended to meta?
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination, to be honest. There's really no one way we're doing anything. The ads themselves tell so many different stories. You know, we have testimonial ads. We have, Greg Tube, who's doing all the comedy stuff. Well, not all the comedy stuff, but a good portion of it. We have our internal staff that's doing a lot of comedy stuff too. And then we have our influencer marketing girl who just does UGC all day, every day. So we kind of have, a few different buckets of how we tell stories. And then when you hit the website, the story that we're really trying to tell on all the collection pages is that the fit is number one. That's what we're known for, right? We just make a better fit than everybody, period, full stop. So that story we have to tell very, very well. And if you go to the website, you go to the homepage, what you'll see at the top, which is different than what most people see at the top, right? Most people see like a cool guy just standing there trying to look as cool as he possibly can be, looking off in the distance with his really good fitting shirt. No, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to show people that we're solving a real problem here, right? So when they hit the website and they see the hero image, they're just like instantly like, that's what they're doing. Okay, I get it. This is about fit. This shirt looks better than everybody. So that's what it comes down to. And then on every collection page, whether it's V-necks, long sleeves, button-ups, where I'm going to do a side-by-side where you get to see our button-up versus the next guy's button-up and how ill-fitting his is compared to ours. And that's really what we're known for and why we're leaning into that so much, because it just works. And it's how you create an identity for yourself. Because at the end of the day, how am I going to, tell a story about a plain t-shirt? Right? Like you have to go deep and it has to be real. This is not marketing, by the way. The shirt actually does make you look better. And if the shirt and the product can't stand on its own, you never will have a business like what we've built. This is not just like a bunch of hype where we sell people on the idea of looking better. People genuinely look better. And that wasn't necessarily my intention from the beginning. I definitely wanted to make a shirt that fit better. But what I didn't anticipate was the wide variety of bodies that genuinely looked like they lost 10 pounds when they put the shirt on. When I would wear the shirt, I just wanted it to fit me a little bit better than all the other BS that was in the market. But what I saw with the bigger guys was that this shirt dramatically helped them look better. So that's what we're leaning into. And that's why the story is so important to get right for the consumer.
All right, I can attest to that, by the way. Not that I need it, but all right. Question.
What type of marketing strategies are most effective, like Facebook ads, TikTok, like in terms of the social media to get people to get to the product?
So what type of marketing advertising avenues have been most effective?
I would say that the most effective ones are the ones that aren't marketing at all, which is very counterintuitive, very odd, right? To say that. Because when you think about a product, you think, I got to sell it. I got to sell the value props. I got to sell all the benefits. I got to sell the features. But people are tired. They're tired of being sold to. So when you come at it from a different angle of like, let me just make you laugh. Let me just make you smile. They inherently just love your brand for allowing to that emotional connection to take place. So in a way, you're doing what we call the soft sell, which is, well, you don't sell at all. You just let them decide when and how they want to buy. So let me just show them something that makes them laugh. Let me make that connection. And then let the customer figure it out when they're ready to buy, right? So that when they go, oh, I need t-shirts, they think of us because we were the only brand that ever made them laugh, right? So it's a balance. You got to kind of have a little bit of both. There are people that are ready to buy and you do have to show them ads that will sell, but I tend to always go the other way. I just tend to think, how do I entertain people? How do I make a great entertaining ad that is really intentional and funny and not just produced to sell something? There will be product placement in the ad, of course, like the people that are trying to make you laugh will be wearing the product, but I'm not going into it thinking like, we have to get the point across that these shirts are a 3-pack for $49.99 and the value prop is this and that and this. I'm just like, they'll figure it out when they get to the website, right? Like it's all laid out there. So I would say the marketing strategies that tend to work are the ones that don't look like marketing strategies. right? Because like everyone's tired of being sold these days. No one wants to get ads shoved down their throats anymore. It's like, just make me laugh. And then, we'll figure it out as consumers. If we like it, we don't. Like Liquid Death is a perfect example. These guys don't sell to you at all. They just make stuff that's funny. They make ads that make people laugh. They do things like, create music albums out of comments that were negative on their product, and then they make fun of themselves for it. That's not an ad, but that's an unbelievable, thoughtful strategy and creative marketing approach to it. So you would say to them, like, well, you're not even selling the product. Well, they don't need to, right? They just need to make a connection with people. And so there's a little bit of a disconnect, I think, there, where I see people overselling. And I'm thinking to myself, like, now you guys you have it backwards. You need to just come up with good creative. Maybe that good creative is not comedy either. It could just be super informative, right? Like you could just be educating people. If you're in that space, whatever that, like maybe if you're in the vitamin space, you need to be educating people on how these vitamins and the ingredients make your life better and improve your well-being. You need to get that across and show people, because most people just don't realize and they don't understand vitamins. So, but you can do it all essentially. I think you just got to kind of see what works for whatever brand that you're working with. Not every brand is going to be able to do funny. Sometimes you got to lean more on the educational side, but yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Or where, I guess if you're to get your message out there in front of people, where are you putting most of your, looking at a pie chart or something, where you're
most of it's going into Facebook still. If I had to break it down in a pie chart, I would say that probably 70% of it is Facebook. Probably 15% is Google, 10% is TikTok, and 5% is TV, podcasts. We're ramping up TV a little bit right now because Meta is kind of inefficient. And so we're starting to lean into TV a little bit more. I wouldn't say it's like the best for direct response, as in, you show them an ad and they just like go and buy right away, like most people do on social. So, but we are seeing a spike. Like I just did an ad 2 nights ago on the New York Knicks versus the Nets game. And New York is a big rivalry. So I made sure I wanted to put a 30-second spot on that. And I definitely saw a nice little bell curve there when it aired. So it's nice to get some awareness, but those are expensive spots. Like those NBA spots cost anywhere from 30 to 40K per spot, per 30-second spot. So we can't do too many of them, but they're nice to try here and there.
All right, next question here. No, I'll go up there next.
Now that you're going to the storefront, do you think it will ever be as lucrative as your online sales?
The retail?
Yes.
Yes.
No, probably not. I mean, listen, dude, retail has been alive since the dawn of day. So it's like, you just can't expect it to be easy as digital, given the nature of it. It's you got to staff it. You have OpEx that is just crazy around like the rent, and then you got to deal with like foot traffic, and is it in the right spot in the mall, and like there's so many variables that it is such a difficult thing. Now, what we're trying to do with retail is get to profitability. I would say that we're getting closer by the month, but it's a beast, man. And you got to really get creative. Just having a store in a mall is not enough. Like it's just not enough. You got to figure out a way to get people in the store. So like we've got people here thinking, okay, should we hand out, like coupons in the mall? Should we, set up like a barista in the store and just give away free coffee, like to anybody that wants to come in, even if they're buying or not? Like, let's just get a line of people coming in to get free coffee. Like, how do we get bodies in the store? So like, if you're not thinking that way, I just don't see how anyone's making money in retail. Unless you have high margins, like a Viore or some of like the high end brands that can make it work. Cause like a t-shirt is $70. I can see how the economics work in that environment. But for us, a t-shirt is like, $16, we got to sell a lot of them to break even every day. So we're trying to get to profitability so that we can scale that up. But until I feel comfortable about where the economics lie in the bottom line, I'm not scaling that thing while it's negative, right? Because then you're just scaling negative all the way up. And that puts us in a bad position. So do I ever think it'll be profitable? I hope so. I'm really hoping we can get there and figure it out, but I'm not too bullish on it currently. We have 8 stores total now. Some are doing better than others. Some are just complete losers. But I think it's good for branding. It's good for the customer. It's good for the experience of introducing new products to people that didn't know that we do other stuff than just t-shirts. I think most of the people that I talk to think we only do shirts. And then they go to the store and they're blown away. They're like, oh my God, you have activewear, you have formal wear, you have blazers, you have chinos, you have underwear. Like we didn't even know. So I love it for that reason. But is it worth losing a shit ton of money from it? Probably not. But for now, I'll do it. Probably not on a large scale. Plus, investors want to see that you can get close to profitability. I don't think they expect us to be wildly profitable in retail, but it does increase your valuation, which is important if we're talking about an exit in the future.
All right, question back there.
How has fast fashion kind of changed the whole apparel market?
How has fast fashion changed the apparel landscape?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a race to the bottom. You know, they are in a different world than we are. We're trying to make things that are quality and that are lasting and that are timeless. And that's what true classic ultimately is. That's why you don't see us doing like the deep V-necks and like the cool thing that is trending right now. We're just kind of like, we just want to make the best plain t-shirt, the best plain V-neck, the best plain polo. We just want to make things that will stand the test of time and that you can wear no matter what era you're in. So I think fast fashion has evolved quite a bit. I think everyone is just trying to run the Fashion Nova model of how can I sell a button-up shirt for $2.27? And it's like the H&M model too. These guys, you know, it would never work if they were on a smaller scale, but the volume is how they make up for the little margin that they are making per SKU. It's the volume that makes it all worth it, right? So that's the trade-off. It's like if they were to raise their prices, their volume would tank and the business would look very different. But because they go so low, they're open to everyone in the market, right? And so how has it affected the apparel market? I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really affect my market at all. And I'm not too concerned with those companies. They're going to do what they do. And I definitely don't want us to follow that trend. I think we're in a good spot. We're not the most expensive. We're not the least expensive, but we're right in the middle market there.
Yeah, we've talked about this in the class already about there's usually 2 general types of strategies. You either go to margin based and you sell fewer, or you go to volume, but you have a lower margin. Then if you go in the middle, and then of course we were talking about you can't make every potential customer happy. So I'm sure you're going to have some that think you're over priced, some think
100%.
Yeah, but then of course you're like right where you want to be though, kind of in the middle. What you're saying.
Yeah, and you also have to look at, like we talk a lot about this. So lifetime value is very, very, very important to understanding the quality of the business that you have. So we're always thinking, how do we increase lifetime value for the customer? How do we get them to buy more categories? How do we get them? And what we found is that the people who buy small, like basically like a 3-pack or 1 shirt or whatever, they're not the best quality of customers. If you look at a cohort analysis and you look at the LTV of each one, the people who are paying less than $50 tend to not have great lifetime value. So it just goes to show you that like racing to the bottom is not necessarily the right play. You have to kind of find that sweet spot of, you know, going low, but not low enough to where you're just going to appease every single body. Because there are going to be those guys who still want to just pay $3 for an Amazon basic tee or $5 in Walmart or whatever it is. And that's okay. Like there's a market for everybody. Not everyone's going to be in the true classic market. But it just, you know, it is what it is.
I know that your first type of customer were males. But like what kind of adjustments you had to do in order to attend like the new customers, like women's? You have to.
Did you hear the question?
Yeah, I did. So we don't have a women's line yet, but women are big in our industry for buying for their men. So, and like women love us because we get to upgrade their guy for like no money. You know, it's like it's just the easiest thing for them to do is to buy a 3-pack for $49.99 to make their husband look like they lost 10 pounds. It's a game changer for them. So I would say during like Q4 or during like the heavy gifting times, um, women go from being 20% of the daily buyers to 80%. So it completely flips the other way, right? Like right now, it's 80-20 guys. Guys are buying most of our stuff right now because we're kind of out of gifting and unless it's like birthdays, but like we're kind of out of the gifting mode. So women become the substantial buyers as we get close. Like for Father's Day is going to be a great example. You're going to get so many women coming out to buy True Classic for their guy because it's just the easiest gift to get. It's pretty cheap, and guys love it, so it's a win-win. As far as like what we do to attract women to the brand, we don't really do a lot because they inherently just buy us anyway. When we roll out women's as a line, as a clothing line, probably next year sometime, we're going to have to really rethink the way we market to them, the way you have to talk to them, the way you show up for them, the product that you develop for them. Women's bodies are different than men's bodies. So you have to adhere to that, which has become a lot more challenging than I thought it would. It made me really appreciate how easy and simplistic guys are, to be honest, through this whole development process that we're going through with women. But it's worth it. And I think that we are going to get there eventually and build a great product that they love and helps them, look good and feel good, which is really the crux of the whole company.
Yeah, it would be growing your target market seemed like it would be challenging, especially since you've gone all in on the men's side of things. Great question. We have a question over there. Yeah.
So what was like the initial target market? Is that shifted over time?
So yeah, what's the initial target market and has it evolved at all?
Early on, I didn't know what the market was. It just kind of evolved. I think, when I first started this, I didn't overthink it. I just thought I knew whatever I wanted to build, I wanted to solve a problem. So that was number one. And then wherever the chips fall is where they fall. I didn't think even the market was as close to as big as it actually is. I thought this was going to be a 35 to 45 men, working professional type buyer. I think what it turned out to be is a much broader 25 to 55 market of men who from all different shapes and sizes. And so it was a little surprising to me. I didn't realize, I didn't think that the younger guys would be able to afford us. I couldn't afford True Classic when I was in my 20s. So I kind of just assumed that nobody else could. But I think times have changed. Maybe it's inflation. I don't know what it is. People are just used to kind of spending a little bit more than they used to. But back in the day, there's no chance you were finding me spending $20 a t-shirt. I couldn't afford that at all. But that's why we bulk things up and give people value discounts. So if you buy 9, you're getting the shirt down to like 11 a shirt. If you buy 6, it's like 13 a shirt. If you buy 3 and so on and so on. So, yeah, it's absolutely evolved and we're continuing to evolve. I mean, I know people in their 60s that are loving True Classic too. I have older guys that I see at the club and they love True Classic. So that's been cool to see.
Yeah, before we move on to the next, I always want to know who's wearing you right now. Last time you said like Rocky and D. Snyder from Twisted Sister, which these kids probably don't know.
Dude, D. Snyder. That guy's become a good buddy of mine. He's actually coming to the office next week to sit down with me. The guy is such a cool guy. Dude, a lot more than I realized. What's crazy is that I keep meeting celebrities and then I'll get introduced. Hey, this is the owner of True Classic. And they'll instantly just go, oh my God, I've seen your ads, or I've like so many more people know about us than I could possibly even realize. So yeah, I'm just continuing to like, try to give stuff away to everybody, no matter who they are, celebrities, students, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of athletes that love our stuff. And it's, you know, we're meeting new ones every day. It's kind of crazy. It's a little surreal to say the least.
All right, we got a question up there? Yeah.
How do you minimize like costs or taxes and like the supply chain?
So how do you minimize cost and taxes through the supply chain?
Well, you got to be a ruthless negotiator. Number one. I think a big part of business that people don't realize, a big part of my job is that I am a ruthless negotiator all day, every day, no matter what it is. It's a vendor contract, whether it's COGS pricing, whether it's finance or our creditors, it doesn't matter what it is. The reality is if you have a real rocket ship of a business like we do, you hold all the leverage, right? So everyone wants to work with you, which means I can get basically any price I want to get for any vendor because they want to work with us that badly because they want to be a part of the story. And they also realize that I've done enough of these podcasts and I've shouted out enough of our vendors that they realize that I do go to bat for them. And if they're great, the whole world's going to know about it because I'm going to be on a podcast or a stage telling everyone when they ask me, who do you guys use for so-and-so? I'm just going to be honest and I'm going to tell them because they deserve it, right? So you have to really show up for vendors and overgive. And that's how you get the most out of them. And it's also how you get the lowest price. And when you do that at scale, boy, does it add up. The amount of money that myself and Ben, our president, who the two of us do all the negotiating essentially for basically everything in the company, the amount of money that we save every year is in the tens of millions. It's a huge amount of money. And it's just because we spend that extra time grinding down these vendors to palatable deals that make sense for us. So how do you get the COGS down? You hit the phones and you work to get those COGS down, right? Like they don't just fall down because every penny that comes off that COG is a penny out of the manufacturer's pocket. So you better believe they're fighting for every inch of that COG price, right? So it's really important and so what I say to them is like, well, do you want future business? We're going to go to $1 billion a year. Do you still want our business? Okay, well then the next guy is telling me he can get it for 20% less. You going to meet that price or not? What are they going to say? No, we don't want the business. Of course they do. They're going to make a ton of money off of us in the future. So like, you just always got to be playing the game of like the long term and what it can mean for the partnership and for them and them just being a part of this story. It all plays into negotiations. So I would say that like, how do I get them down? You get on the phone, buddy. You do it like anything else in life. Whatever you want, you go get it. You talk to the right people, you negotiate, and you make them understand that if they don't give you what you want, you are going to go elsewhere. It is a free market. I can at any time go to a different manufacturer and just say, listen, you want to make us our shirts? Great. What's the price? Great. Let's go. Right. And they all know that. It's completely open. So they better negotiate. And if they don't, then adios. On to the next one.
All right, question up there, yes.
So, like, what was the moment that you realized, like, you can actually make money off of it? Like, this is great, I can, like, live off of it.
So at what point did you realize it was a profitable idea? Like during your history?
I knew in the first month because I had been so used to looking at Facebook ad return on ad spend and understanding if a product can work or scale. So like, remember, I put in my 10,000 hours before starting True Classic on the digital marketing side. So when I started seeing the return, like basically if I spend $1 and make $3, well, now I'm really on to something. If I was to spend $1 and make $1.10, well, I got a little work to do because I can't build a business on 10 cents delta, right? So when I saw that I was getting 3 or 4 to 1 on my money, I was like, oh, wow. And these ads aren't even that good. Like, imagine if I start making great ads. Like, I might be able to get to 5 or 6 to 1, which will really give me enough profit to put back into the business. So how did I know that it was a winner? Watching those Facebook ads like hawk and really making sure that everything on the website was tightened up and it was the best it could look. But remember, I only had myself and the 2 founders for the first year doing all the work of like probably 15 people. So it it was easy to be profitable when, number one, we weren't taking any money out of the company. And number two, we didn't have to hire anybody. So it was just pure sweat equity in the beginning, right? And we were all just like killing ourselves to make this business work. And looking back, it was probably the wrong move, but we wanted to build a real business. And if it's not profitable, it's not a real business, you know? So we saw the sales coming in that first month and we quit everything else we were doing. We got behind it 100%. And by month 3, we had already tripled what the monthly revenue had looked like in month 1. So then we were like, wow, this is really starting to take off. And then after that, the rest is history.
All right, question up there.
All right, so have you ever thought of selling your company and have you had any offers?
Yeah, have you ever thought of selling the company? Have you had any offers?
We have had one term sheet that from a company that wanted to invest in us. But when you're profitable, you don't need to raise money unless you have some sort of big capital intensive initiative that needs a ton of money. But yeah, we talk about it all the time. I mean, we're going to market right now. We hired some bankers that are some of the best in the business. And we are going to go to market in the summertime. Hopefully, if the market looks good and frothy, then we will do it. If not, we will wait. We are not in a hurry. We don't need the money. We can just chill. We can wait for the right opportunity and the right term sheet. And so, yeah, it's, I don't think I want to sell 100% of the company. I think what we would do is sell 10 to 20% at $1 billion valuation. So take a few $100 million off the table, you know, let everyone kind of wet their beak as far as that's concerned. And then also, you know, there's an employee pool. So it would be nice to let the employees kind of cash in some of those chips and do right by all of them. But I don't want to sell all of it because there's so much more runway to go. If I felt like True Classic was like moving laterally and ready to fall off a cliff, then yeah, maybe I would sell it. But this business has so much runway left. I mean, we haven't even done wholesale yet. I mean, guys, wholesale is normally 50 to 60% of most of these big brand businesses, Levi's, Viore, you name it. 50 to 60% is wholesale. We are 0% wholesale. So what do you think that means to us? I mean, dude, we just landed Kohl's, 1,200 stores. We're going to be in 1,200 stores in June for Father's Day. And so we're just now tapping into that market in year 4. So you can imagine, and we're talking to Walmart, we're talking to Costco, we're talking to Target, we're talking to everybody. And everyone wants True Classic because we're kind of the hot apparel item for men on IG right now. So they see all the eyeballs and they want that for their stores. So it's going to be interesting where it goes. But yes, to kind of answer your question, we are thinking about selling a minority percentage. I don't think I'll ever sell 100%. I think what'll happen is we'll sell like a 10 to 20%. Hopefully we can get $1 billion valuation. And then whoever invests in us will probably want to take it public in the next, I would say, 2 to 5 years. And so that they can get their money out. And then we'll see where it goes.
All right, next question.
So do you see Fabletics or any other companies as a true competitor right now, or are you pretty much in your own niche market?
Did you hear that?
Yeah. I would say there's a little bit of overlap there, but when we look at the customer surveys, weirdly enough, people don't put us in the same bucket as even Fabletics. They put us in higher end buckets, which is interesting. Like all the people we think are our competitors are not really our competitors in the consumer's mind. People put us in the bucket of like Levi's and kind of like the new Levi's. Like Levi's currently is a great brand. It's a brand I really respect. But I don't feel that they're as connected to their customer as we are. I feel like we do a much better job of building community and giving customers what they need. And so that's why we're taking so much market share from them. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I Fabletics is, I put them in the same bucket as like Fashion Nova, Zara, and kind of those like race to the bottom. I mean, dude, you can buy like the most insane stuff there for literally pennies on the dollar. And it's amazing that they are able to turn a profit. But again, it's a scale thing for them. They just have to do so much volume to make those numbers work for them. And, you know, it's definitely one way to run a business. I'm not trying to really run that type of business over here though. So I don't see them as a competitor.
All right, we got one or two more questions and then we'll let you go. We got one, and so if I can get one more hand, we'll do one more. Go ahead.
Yeah, like it's a cheap, not cheap, but like it's not a super high cost shirt, but like you still have. You mentioned that you have
Like the value props. What are the value props essentially? Like what's the differentiators in the market?
exactly.
Yeah, I think that's where you're going. Yeah.
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 So three things. Number one is the fit. It's undoubtedly the best fitting clothing. And it's not just the t-shirt, it's everything. It's the polos, it's the dress shirts. They all fit the same, roughly tighter in the shoulders and arms, which is kind of where guys want things to fit tighter. Not so much on their belly, right? They would rather have it tighter in the accentuation of the spots of their body they want to show off and then hide the spots they don't want. So fit is number one. Number two is comfort. There's just a level to comfort of everything that we make that customers expect to have when they buy us. So like the dress shirts are just overly comfortable compared to like regular cotton or Oxford dress shirts that are a little stiff and a little scratchy. Like I just, we're all about comfort over here. And so that's why I'm wearing I wear sweatsuits literally every day. While everyone else in here in the office is wearing like jeans and button ups. So I would say fit is number one, comfort is number two, and the affordability factor is number three. Those are the three main value props. And outside of that, the nuanced things that people don't really look at are just showing up for the customer at every facet of the business. This is something I talk a lot about. And whether it's the marketing and creating good feelings through our ads and making people laugh, or the way that we're packaging things on the website to make the shopping simpler and easier and faster, whether it's the customer service just being over the top friendly and Ritz-Carlton level. No matter where you look in this business, it just keeps going back to the same North Star, which is treat people right at all costs and do right by them wherever they turn and whatever they're looking for. Just keep showing up day after day for them and doing right. And they will notice and they will get behind you as a brand. And that's how you really build community. And when you build community, that's how you differentiate from everyone else in the marketplace. So even if there's other companies who have better product, better assortment, whatever, they don't have the connection that we have with the customer. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. You've got to do right by them. And you've got to figure out a way to provide them tremendous value. I mean, if any of you follow me on Twitter, you'll see that all I do every day is give stuff away for free. I'm just on there paying off people's Amazon wish lists, whether it's, we just doing like a health bag the other day for the month of January. I'm just giving and giving and giving and giving nonstop. That's like my full-time job these days, aside from problem solving, is just giving to people. And so people notice and they're like, wow, all this guy does is try to create value for us. It's just great that someone's trying to get behind that. And that's the big overarching differentiation that I think most people don't talk about. Like the obvious stuff is the fit, the feel, the price, but like the nuanced stuff that connects you to people is all the other stuff you don't talk about that I just named.
And was that the wish list, or you did something with teachers at the beginning of the year?
Yeah.
That went over really big. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So that was an interesting one, and it has since evolved, but it was a crazy thing where one of our internal staff was just like, hey, people are going back to school. I noticed on Twitter that a lot of teachers are trying to get supplies for their kids. And so I said, great, let's jump in there and help a bunch of them. And we did. And then what happened is they caught wind of it, and I got absolutely bombarded by thousands of teachers, like overnight. I went from I paid off I think 25 or 50 wish lists. And I was like, high five, Zuzu, that's my assistant. Like, hey, good job, we did great. And the next morning I woke up and there was 600 retweets. And I'm like, uh-oh, Zoo, we are in trouble. This is going to be a lot of work. We went from 50 to 600 overnight. And then it just started snowballing. And then the news media outlets started reaching out to me. And I started getting on, I got on CBS and Fox Business, and I was on there talking to them. And it just turned into a whole thing. But again, it goes back to giving, man. It's just like it was a great moment. It was super timely. I showed up for people. I helped them out, and then it evolved into, okay, well, I know it's, you know, where the school season has started, but what else can I help you guys with? And now, like, for instance, I just did a wish list of like health items for the month of January, since it's always like new year, new me, time to be healthy month. I'm like, all right, let me curate a little wish list, 4 items that are all related to health. One's like a book, one's a jump rope, one is a multivitamin, and then one is a water bottle that collapses. So I was like, let me just put together a little wish list. And they tell everyone to add this and then comment. And now we're just paying them all off. And you know, listen, I have the resources, so why not? It's, you know, it's tens of thousands of dollars a month in donations. But like, dude, it's the best money you could ever spend. You know how much great feeling and connection you get with people when you help them get a little bit more healthy and or pay for supplies for their kids. I mean, these people are now hardcore true classic, right? And so that's what it's all about, man. It's like whatever business you're in, at the end of the day, if you go out there and you shake hands and kiss babies and give to the world, people are going to love you for it. And because that's what they expect from business owners with resources. I think what you see in the pushback from a lot of the public when they talk about, you know, not wanting or what they want out of, you know, Elon or Bezos, and why there's so much pushback is they want to see these guys out there wielding that money for good in a lot of different ways, right? Which is, in my opinion, where most business owners should be thinking about devoting a good portion of their time. And so I just try to deliver on that. And it's also just like, it's just kind of who I am. I've always been that way. I've never had a ton of money in my life until the last probably 7 or 8 years. And now that I'm in a position to give, it's the most fun ever. Like I can just wake up and think about ways to give and create goodness. It's just, to me, it's like the perfect North Star to do right by humans, is just figure out creative ways to give back to the community or the teachers or single parents or police officers. Like I just dropped off 200 something shirts to our local PD right over here by the office. They were so insanely, they had so much gratitude and happiness because, you know, it's not easy being a cop these days. And just giving them a couple t-shirts just absolutely made their day.
All right, awesome to hear that at the community building. We got one more and then we'll let you go. So I know you're a busy man. Last
No
one.
worries.
Does it plan like going on international and globally, or is it gonna keep his market like US?
Well, yeah, so he wants to know about international expansion, kind of where you are and where you plan to go.
Yeah, so it is a big business. We're in 192 countries. We now have local fulfillment in Australia, UK, and a couple other, I think we have some in Canada now. But it's expanding and it's growing. It's a big part of the business. It's a huge part of the business. We did 60 million just in international last year. You know, so I would say it's a big focus of ours. I would say it's very difficult because you can't just shove American ads down Germans' throats. You have to create German content for Germans. Like, big surprise, right? Like you have to create native content for these environments, and it's very difficult. We have to recreate like winning creative with their actors in Germany that are local to that environment and speak that language. So it's proving to be very difficult, but we're such a great product for international because we're plain, and no matter what color, creed, nationality, doesn't matter where you live, plain clothing is universal. And so it just really works for the international markets. And, you know, certain countries are a little more price sensitive than others. So I would say that most of our sales come from like basically 95% of the international sales come from like 5 international markets. So Canada, UK, Australia. I would say it's probably Germany and then Mexico. If I were to talk about the top 5 in terms of just like pure volume, and then it just trickles down between the other, you know, 180 something countries. So it's a big focus of ours. We're putting a lot of energy behind it. We just hired a director of international. We have a GM of international, and you know, it's the market is kind of wide open internationally for us, and we're putting a lot of resources behind it. I don't know that we'll do any kind of retail stores internationally just yet, but I think we're going to continue to just make it work digitally and find new ways to give value to those people.
All right, well, thanks for coming on. Let's give them a round of applause.
And by the way, everybody in this room, how many students do you have there?
What's that?
How many students do you have in that room?
Roughly 35.
Everyone gets free True Classic. I'm gonna send we'll figure out a way, but I will definitely hook everybody up
Me
with
too.
with True Classic in the room.
All right. Well, right. And if we're ever in Cadillac at the same time, I'll take you out to the Roaring Twenties. It's on me. They don't know what that is.
No, they don't.
All right. Well, hey, we truly appreciate it. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Absolutely. Thanks,
All right.
guys. It was fun.
Cool.